bus till about 2 o'clock. So I'll see if that's something we can arrange. I think that would be a good, give y'all something to do, and then we don't have to worry about if we run into the election day with the deliberations or even the trial, and that will better use y'all's time and give us an opportunity to grab lunch. So, all right, I will check in on that. All right, now that we've finished talking logistics, Ms. Frankish, if you'll go ahead.
Thank you. Sergeant Hayes, you're still under oath from, I think, like 2 days ago. So we just listened to several hours of an interview, and I want to talk with you about that interview of the defendant. Are you trained in any of your continuing training or from posts in how to conduct interviews with witnesses?
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Are there different strategies that you're taught to use in certain situations that you're in with different, let's say, witnesses, suspects, victims, etc.?
There are several different interview and interrogation techniques.
And in this interview in the beginning, you kind of proposed to her alternative hypotheses of what could have happened. Can you describe that to the jury?
Yeah, I believe specifically you're talking about when I offered, if something happened and she was defending herself, and something happened as a result of that.
What is the purpose of that in an interview?
Providing alternative theories, sometimes it makes people feel at ease that, what they might have done and isn't as bad as they thought.
In the beginning, you asked Ms. Farris a lot about Scott Farris. Why did you do that?
Get everybody's opinion on, everyone. We really concentrated on Melody and Scott in the beginning of this investigation because they were the two people who lived on the property with Gary. We believe them to both have the most intimate knowledge of what might have happened.
And at one point, it sounds like you stepped out to receive more information. Tell the jury about what was going on while you were interviewing Ms. Farris over the several hours that we heard.
The search at the property was still going on. I was sent to go, do these interviews. So not only was I getting information from the scene of what they were uncovering, I was being asked, what has she said so far? Is there anything else we need to look for, check on, anything like that?
When you were interviewing and when the detective at the time, Kuykendall, was interviewing Ms. Farris, did either of you ask her about the financial situation of the family?
We did not.
Was the beach condo that was supposed to be for the following weekend on, I believe, the 7th, was that a topic of conversation among the family?
Yes.
Is that why that came up in your interview with Ms. Farris?
Yes.
Was that something that you wanted her to tell y'all about, her perspective?
Yeah, it had been brought up several times, so we were curious as to that situation.
At some point, you bring up Rusty Barton. How did you learn about Rusty Barton?
During the search of the house, they found a credit card in her purse, credit, debit, I can't remember, in her purse with the name Roy H. Barton. And that name was brought to my attention.
Did other family members bring up his name?
Yes.
Throughout her interview, did she ever mention having an open marriage?
No.
Did she ever mention Gary having other relationships?
No.
You asked her about Ted Wiley. How did you know about Ted Wiley?
I believe family members on the scene had mentioned the name and told us about the affair years ago.
When you asked her about Rusty Barton, well, let me back up. You asked her generally, and I can't remember if it was you or Sergeant Kuykendall, if she was currently in an affair with anyone.
Yes.
What was her answer?
She stated she was not.
Judge, at this time, moves to admit Pope 1.1. It's a portion of the report that's already been entered, but it's a voicemail that was within the report.
All right, objections?
No objection.
All right, submitted.
Well, let me back up to Pope 1. All right. I'm showing you, Sergeant, Pope 1, and on page 13, it's item 48, voicemails. Can you read the date on that, please?
June 18th, 2018.
And who does it say it's from?
Melody.
What's the phone number?
6.
Anyway, it was easier for me just to leave you a voicemail message than it was a text message. So anyway, from there, I'm going to go get a room as opposed to that I could stay with her, but then that way I can talk to you. So anyway, I'll touch base with you in a little bit. I love you. Bye.
And the report, this was from Rusty Barton's phone. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. At that time when you were interviewing Ms. Farris, had the projectile been found in the home?
During which interview were we on?
At any point throughout the interview,
Yes.
was the projectile in the home found and
Ye-
known to you or Sergeant Kuykendall?
Yes.
Was that something, that's not something you ever provided to Ms. Farris as a detail. Can you tell the jury why?
You know, certain things you don't tell people. You try to get them to tell you. You don't want to give them, you know, all the information. You want to see if they provide anything or if they can corroborate anything for you.
When she was told about the projectile in Gary's bone, in his rib, what was her response to you?
She asked me if we knew what kind it was.
Why was the tractor such an important topic in this interview?
We knew Gary was a large man. We knew Melody was a small woman. Running theories through our head of, you know, how this could have happened if, you know, if she did it, if she had help, if she didn't have help. We tried to think of everything, and we noticed the equipment on the property, the RTV, the tractor, and all that, and obviously that was a theory. We knew she knew how to use it, and we believe she could have used it to move the body if needed.
And were family members pointing out to you the location of the tractor?
Yeah, we had been told that the tractor was parked somewhere that it should not have been parked. It usually was not left there.
The condo from July 7th, that also came up. Was that, and I've already kind of talked about this a little bit, but was that a significant event that people seemed to focus on throughout the investigation?
The condo,
The beach condo.
the beach trip, yes.
At this time, Judge, state moves to enter into evidence Hayes 55.
All right,
No objection.
All right, Sergeant Hayes, we talked about how the sheriff's office was collecting phone records, extracting cell phones, and you had the opportunity to go through some of these phones and some of the records and the data, correct?
I did.
I'm showing you Hayes 55. Okay, I want to start with item number 1. Who does it say that it's from?
Ella Farris.
And who does it say that it's to?
Melody Farris.
What is the text message?
It states, "I want you to come to the beach."
Okay. What date was that sent?
July the 3rd, 2018.
I want to move on down to the next one. And this is a text from who? This is item number 2. Text from who?
From Gary Farris.
To who?
Appears to be to Melody Farris and Amanda Farris.
What day and time?
July 3rd, 2018 at 3:11.
And he is telling them what?
I was planning to go to the beach with the girls.
Item number 3. Who is this from?
From Emily to Melody.
What time? What date and time?
June 24th, 2018 at 5:57 p.m.
Okay. And what does Emily say to
Says,
Melody?
well, Chris mentioned something about a beach trip.
And what was Melody's response to Emily?
I'm not paying for him a beach trip. He's still charging his cable and phone and airline tickets to us.
And what does Emily say to Melody?
That's just what he told me. He said Daddy was wanting to go to the beach.
And then on July 2nd, 2018, what does Melody say to Emily about this?
Just giving you a heads up about things. Chris continues to charge his cable, phone, and airline tickets to Gary's checking account. Charge their honeymoon and their beach trip. Year you got married to us as well. Now another beach trip after I told him no and why. He never paid back Jenna's ring that was financed by us. I have had it. I'm taking measures to stop this insanity.
And on June 25th, 2018, what does Melody send to Amanda?
It said, did Chris talk to you about this beach trip? He wants to take the girls down there the weekend after the 4th. Let him take them. I haven't gotten past him standing on my porch telling me he was going to beat me unrecognizable, and then only time he wanted to see me again was when they put me in a box in the ground. He continues to take money every month, of which you do nothing about. There's something terribly wrong with not being able to take a beach trip with grandkids without so much drama. I guess such a trip is not exciting enough for someone like you.
Okay, so that was from Melody to Amanda.
Yes.
Seems like a bit much, so let's clear that up. We'll go to item number 8. Who's this from?
From Gary to Melody.
What does it say?
Says, did Chris talk to you about this beach trip?
And what date was that?
That's June 25th, 2018 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 p.m.
What was Melody's response to Gary?
What beach trip?
And then Gary says what?
He wants to take the girls down there the weekend after the 4th.
What's Melody's response?
Let him take them. I haven't got past him standing on my porch telling me he was going to beat me unrecognizable, and then the only time he wanted to see me again was when they put me in a box on the ground. Or that he continues to take money every month, of which you do nothing about.
And then what's Gary's response to Melody?
There's something terribly wrong with not being able to take a beach trip with grandkids without so much drama. I guess such a trip is not exciting enough for someone like you.
So that's essentially what this conversation was, right?
Yes.
Okay. That was sent to Amanda. All right, so then on July 2nd, 2018, what does Melody say to Gary?
Did you book a condo for Chris and Jenna?
And what is Gary's response?
I booked one for me and the girls as well.
And then on July 2nd, 2018, what does Melody say to Amanda?
I got Gary's phone. He booked and paid for a condo for Chris and Jenna. I'm beyond furious.
What is Amanda's response?
Oh, big surprise.
And what is Melody's response to Amanda?
He is wrong for doing it, and when I specifically said no and had just reason.
What is Amanda's response to Melody?
Yup, Chris will never grow up.
And what does Melody say back to Amanda?
But yet he refuses to help you with the dentist.
And then what does Amanda say to Melody?
Yup, can't stop him. It's ridiculous.
What is Melody's response to Amanda?
This is the last straw with him.
And can you read that date one more time?
That date is July 2nd, 2018 at 10:07 a.m.
Okay, and that was Hayes 55. So throughout her interview, she mentioned to you, who did she keep telling you that booked that condo?
Chris.
So there was a lot of discussion with Ms. Farris about plates being broken, multiple plates being broken. At any point, throughout getting returns for search warrants, did you find any videos or photos or anything like that about a plate being broken?
I did.
Can you tell the jury where that was located?
We did a search warrant for Gary's Google Gmail account, and in those returns were several items of interest, but one being a video it appears that Gary took from his cell phone. Looks like his cell phone backed up to his Google account.
At this time, the state would move to introduce Hayes 54.
Objection. All right, suspend.
Leave a plate. Take it upstairs. Minor temper tantrum. Of course, I had supper tonight, and it was fixed for me, so I'm sure I'll be feeling poorly here in minutes. But we'll see.
Sergeant Hayes, can you let me pull this up. What is that? This is strange. This is the file within that exhibit. I can't move that. Titled metadata. Can you please put on the record the album title of that?
7/2/2018.
Okay. And album creation date? You can't.
July 3rd, 2018.
Okay. Thank you. I can't move that. Eventually, she told you that she slammed that plate down.
Yes.
She also mentioned she cleaned that up, right?
Yes.
When she was confronted about a second cell phone, what was her response?
She told us she did not have a second cell phone at the time. When we asked her further about it, she told us that at some point Sherry Cooper had given her one. I believe she just described it as an iPhone in a black case, but stated she had given it back to Sherry some time ago.
There's one portion in there where y'all are talking about money, and she mentions that, well, was money a big topic with her?
It was. She brought it up continually.
And what was her issue with Gary and his money?
That everyone, according to her, was taking it from Gary.
But not her.
Correct.
And did she tell you, what did she tell you about her access to money?
She said she had limited access.
What did she tell you about the cards that she had?
The card she did have, Gary would get an email if she spent any money. He would question her even for $38 Kroger purchases.
All right, at this time, state moves to enter into evidence Hayes 57. time, state moves into evidence Hayes 57.
No objection.
I submit.
57.1. Thank you, yes.
What's wrong?
And 57.1. Yes. 57.1.
No objection.
I submit. Go ahead.
All right, this is back in February of 2018, and I'm looking at item number. Oh, sorry.
I just
What
said
is that? I don't read
It just
it.
said don't show this message again, and then we wouldn't have to do
Oh,
it again.
sorry. I don't read stuff like that. Just get away. Okay, can you please read item number 1, to, from, and the date?
From Melody Farris to Emily Farris, date February 10th, 2018, 10:48 a.m. Scott just left, going in a limo to North Georgia for a wine tasting. I'm home working. Things have to change.
And what does Emily say?
Did he rent the limo?
And Melody's response.
Don't know, for Justin's birthday.
And then Melody says one more thing.
Taking Ashley.
What does Emily say to Melody?
I'm not taking care of him when we're in our 50s.
What does Melody say to Emily?
And if I say anything, I get chastised by G. Wayne.
What's Gary's middle name?
His middle
Gary
name?
Farris's
Gary
middle
Wayne
name.
Farris, yes.
What does Emily say back to Melody?
I don't get it.
What's Melody's response to that?
And he has a credit card. I don't even have that. Insane.
Okay, now I want to jump back to 2017, September of 2017. Item number 9 in this same exhibit. Amanda says what?
Call me when you get off.
Well, actually, sorry, this is, I believe, Melody to Amanda. You can scroll down and make sure, but it's in her sent folder, so.
Call me when you get off.
Okay, and then the next one.
Your daddy has shut down my debit card, giving you heads up for your hair, yet Scott has debit card and credit card, and Chris is still using bank info to pay his cell and cable to tune if $800 a month.
What does Amanda say?
I won't worry about my hair then. Some things never change.
What does Melody say to Amanda?
He may turn it back on, especially when he has no dinner, no clean clothes, and no dry cleaning. He said that if I have no money, I have to stay home, and he is going to tell you for that if you still choose to talk to me, then he will know how you all truly are and will have nothing to do with you kids.
All right, let's scroll down to item number 15. This is, what kind of message is this? From who to who?
It's an outgoing from Melody Farris to Scott Farris,
What date?
March 26, 2018.
What does this appear to be?
An attachment, a screenshot
What is the body of that message?
from your father.
What is item number 17?
From Melody Farris to Amanda Farris,
What's the date?
March 26, 2018.
Is that the same date as the previous 2 items sent to Scott?
Yes,
Is it the same attachment?
it appears to be.
What does the body of that message say to Amanda?
From your father, so help me God.
Let's see if this will work. Okay. So I clicked on the link of the attachment and it brought up this attachment.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now we're going to go to item number 1 under data files. What is this? Is there
Appears to be
another-
a screenshot.
What date was it created?
March 26, 2018 at 12:03 p.m.
And this is Hayes 57.1. Can you please read that screenshot?
I can't read the very top. It looks like it says dinner ready. Then it says, where did you go? I'm assuming that's supposed to be prolific. Profligate spending must stop. I work every day, and between you and Scott and Chris, I cannot keep up. You treat me like I don't exist, which is offensive given how you repeatedly betray me.
Go back to Hayes 57. Does that appear to be the same text message?
Yes.
Just looks a little edited or cropped. The screenshot?
Yes.
And that is the same one she sent to Scott and Amanda on March 26, 2018.
Yes, it appears to be.
You mentioned you got returns back for Mr. Gary Farris's Gmail account.
Yes.
Would Gary Farris get financial notifications to his email?
Yes.
And this jury has heard, and so have you, Sergeant Hayes, that Mr. Farris has got an email from Rusty Barton's ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
Did you find that email in his Gmail returns?
We did.
At this time, the state moves to tender Hayes 6 and Hayes 56.
No objection.
At this time, I'm going to tender Hayes 6.
All right, submitted, go ahead.
All right, what are we looking at here in Hayes 6?
This is Gary Farris's email, his Gmail account.
And can you, the date is in local time, can you tell the jury what date that appears to be?
Appears to be October 19th, 2017.
And going down to the bottom of that screen, who is it appear like the email is from?
From Christina Grant.
Okay. And that date is the same, October 19th. What year?
2017.
What's the subject?
Your ex.
And publishing Hayes 56. And we're going to start from the bottom of the document because we know emails print backwards. So, can you please read the body of that email into the record?
Just FYI, your wife and Rusty Barton have been lovers for 3 years.
And who does that appear to be from?
From Christina Grant.
Same date, October 19, 2017?
Yes.
And what does Mr. Farris respond with?
He asked, do I know you?
And what does Ms. Grant say?
You want to talk?
What does Mr. Farris say?
Not right now.
What does Ms. Grant say to Mr. Farris?
I understand. I'm pissed, beyond pissed.
And that date of the last portion of the email was what date?
October 20th of 2017.
I'd like to talk about these financial alerts. When Miss Farris was talking about what all she did when she woke up on July 5th, Did she mention going anywhere?
She did not.
Did she mention driving off the property?
No.
Making any phone calls to anyone about going anywhere?
No.
At this time, state moves to enter into evidence states exhibits Hayes 4 and Hayes 5.
No objection.
Thanks, good.
I'm going to start with Hayes 4. So you got his returns back from Google, Mr. Farris's,
Yes.
where there were several transaction notifications.
Yes.
Okay. Were there any for the morning of July 5th?
There was.
To where?
Walmart.
And I'm showing you Hayes 4. Can you read that total into the record?
The total amount was $450.43.
What's the transaction date?
July 5th, 2018.
And can you read the last 4 digits of that card?
1727.
I'm going to show you Hayes 5. What is Hayes 5?
It's a Walmart receipt.
And was Walmart able to provide the receipt for that transaction?
They were.
Now, I want to show you on page 2 of 5. It says date here, 2/8/1960, and then it looks like 14 hands, 750 milliliter. Do you know what that is?
Appears to be a bottle of wine.
And whose birthday is that?
Melody Farris.
And what account number is listed there?
1727.
Okay. And the total matches that transaction?
It does. $450.43.
And yet she did not mention that visit to Walmart to you.
She did not.
I want to talk a little bit about Rusty Barton. Well, let me ask you this. Did you ever find throughout the entire investigation a .38 revolver that was involved in, that could have been involved in this crime?
We did not.
After interviewing people for that first month in July, would you get calls from Chris and Scott?
Yes.
And did they ever come to you together to talk about the case?
They did.
How long did you speak with them for?
I don't recall the exact time. It was well over an hour.
And did they maintain contact with you throughout the investigation?
They did.
All right, now I want to talk about Rusty Barton. Can you tell the jury how Miss Farris came to be arrested?
How she came to meet him?
How she came to be arrested?
Oh, to be arrested. I'm sorry. After the autopsy result was finalized and published by the GBI, and we had a positive identification on paper and documented from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, we took warrants on Miss Farris. We started looking for her. We didn't know where she was at the time. It had been almost a year after the investigation. I had not had any much contact with her since. We soon discovered that she was in Tullahoma, Tennessee with Rusty Barton.
And how did she come to be arrested in Tullahoma, Tennessee?
Sergeant Pope and I took another trip up to Tullahoma and began looking for her. We asked the local police department for assistance. We went by Martha Jane's house to see if she was there. She was not. The Mercedes, Gary Farris's Mercedes that she was driving, was parked in that driveway. We went to Rusty Barton's residence where he was living with his daughter. His truck was gone. I believe we tried to called Rusty. Hadn't spoken to him in a while either. He didn't answer. I reached out to Bobby Carter, which was Rusty's attorney. Got him on the phone, explained to him what was going on. Bobby Carter called me back not long after and said, I got a hold of Rusty. They'll meet you at the Tullahoma Police Department in about 20 minutes.
Prior to this, was Mr. Barton still recording their phone calls?
Yes.
And did Collio also record their text messages?
Yes.
I believe I may have already admitted the total of the Collios, but at this time I'll move to admit the remainder.
I can't remember, so no objection.
All right. You did 1.6.
Okay. And then state will move to tender. It's titled text messages 18
All right.
within those.
No objection.
At this time, Sergeant Hayes, I'm going to show you text messages 18, State's Exhibit. I'm just going to hit close on this one, Judge. Okay. Okay, what are we looking at here, Sergeant Hayes?
This is a printout of incoming and outgoing text messages between Rusty and Melody.
All right. Does it also appear to list their calls?
It does.
And this is, well, let's go to the top. What's the first date listed here?
August 1st, 2018.
What's the last date on this spreadsheet?
August 31st, 2018.
Don't make me expand that. I don't know how to do that. Okay. All right. I'm showing you field 522 on that exhibit. What is the text? It says incoming. What is that text?
It says plain gold band.
And what does 530 say?
I love you, be strong, hand on your waist.
I'm directing you to field 807, and that says outgoing. Can you read that in the record, please?
You think I'm having fun with all this bullshit. I can't drink enough to make it okay.
And that says outgoing?
Yes.
In August of 2018 was Mr. Barton recording phone calls between him and Miss Farris still?
He was.
Judge, the next call I'm going to publish is an hour. All right. Break after?
Stand up and stretch before we get started with it, I guess. Somebody listening in to me complaining about right before we broke for lunch about it being warm, turned the air on for y'all. Don't want y'all to get too comfortable.
At this time, the state's going to publish Collio's 4.
All right.
You get him?
Mr. Fogus would like him to use.
you get him?
Who, Bobby?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Got him. He talked to him and called me back and said he had talked to him.
And?
He said he basically told Bobby that he was a much better attorney than him and it was a scare tactic, and we'll let it go at that.
Well, he said, Melody, if they were going to arrest him, they would have done it then. They don't come up and tell somebody they're going to arrest you. Which is true. I mean, when you wrap your head around it, that's true. And he said, Melody, they can't arrest him. The TBI is going to have to go. He said, somebody from there has.
They said that. They said that I would be arrested here, and then they would have to take me, extradite me to Georgia.
Right.
So, like Bobby said, then it hit the news here in Chattanooga and Nashville, and,
Right.
that's the first thing that's going to happen.
Okay, I don't know whether he told him this, but Manny said that you all need to get any information that proves that you were in town at that time. I said, well, that they had already gotten from a grocery store that you had been at. They had gotten the footage there because they even knew what you bought. He said they need to. He said because we're getting to the 30-day mark now, and he said it's going to roll off. He said you all need to get that footage and anything else that would prove that you were there. Not somebody's word, but a proof that you were in town.
Okay, I'll tell him that.
Do you know of anywhere else that you were besides Food Line?
Well, they've got a list of, Bobby has a list of my credit card statements, baby.
Okay.
He's got a list of where I was at. I wrote down and made up a timeline, per day of where I was, who I talked to, that kind of stuff. That
Right.
from Monday to Thursday of that week, and Bobby has that.
Right. Okay. So I didn't know what all he told him, but
I don't know. I don't know what he told
I
me.
don't know, but I have been right. But I've been upfront.
Fucking dying.
I know you are. So am I. But he said, Melody, think about this. He said, I know both of you all are freaking out. He said, but Melody, we were in your house. Nothing was glowing. They don't have anything. He said, it's a scare tactic. He said, I've got the report. There's nothing there, Melody. I said, okay. I said, I haven't seen the report. I don't.
That's all they were talking about was putting luminol on things, and that it had been, apparently been cleaned up, Like, so I'm thinking, baby, did you get it cleaned up? Is it cleaned up? And then it's like, okay, he's been shot. Where's the gun?
Right. I asked Manny, I said, Manny, do you have a report from the GBI yet that says that he was shot? He said, nope, they're not turning it over. He said, so that makes me think that it's a lie too. He said, remember, they will lie to you. They will lie to me. They will lie to everybody. He said, Melody, and I can tell you, there's no gunshot. There's no gunshot.
And you know that.
I know that. Manny said, Melody, they are lying to you. So, what did they show Bobby any pictures today?
Yeah.
Do you know what that it was of?
It was the ones of the looked like just walls. I mean, all I could tell was walls. I couldn't say, it was like a picture of a wall, that had shit sprayed on it. I mean, I couldn't. And then there was a picture in like ashes of a bone that had a bullet in it.
Right. And I told him, I said, he said, right. He said, did they leave anything with Bobby? Do you know if they left anything with him?
I have no
Copies
idea.
of anything?
I don't know whether I'm coming, going, or done yet.
I know you don't.
I don't.
Did they show them to you?
What?
Copies of these pictures?
Yes, that's what I said. I saw a picture of a wall, or a couple of pictures of, a wall or walls.
Right.
And the stuff sprayed on, and then we had a black light on it, and
Okay.
floating.
Okay. I'll add that. He said that more than like he said, do you know anything about this Bobby Carter? I said, I don't. And he said, do you know if he's trained to look at that to know that what they're showing him is the truth? I said, I don't know that either. He said, Melody, they will also show pictures that have been altered. And they can do that. It's not illegal for them to do that. He said, but Melody, remember, I had my investigators in there. There's nothing in that house. I said, I know that. I do know that. He said, I've got the report. Melody, there's nothing in there. I said, I understand that. He said, okay, then. Of course, he was like, I said, look, I don't do this. This is not my forte. That's why I'm calling you.
Which is exactly what I told them. I was like, y'all, I don't know what the hell this is all about. I've never been in this position before. You're asking me questions about shit I don't know.
Right. Right.
Said,
he said he wanted to know. He said, why did... Right. He said, why did he get an attorney? I said, why did he get an attorney? I said, his wife was a court reporter, and he had lots of friends who were attorneys in town, and I said, he did not talk to them without a lawyer. And he said, okay. That was he was trying to get wrap his head around everything. He said, but first of all, he said, how long did they stay? And I said, about 2 hours. And he said, Melody, I said, look, you can tell me all day long it's a scare tactic. He said, but I'm telling you how that they would have worked. He said, all they're doing is to try to get him to say something. Where are you at now?
I'm sitting in the Planet Fitness parking lot with 9 million other cars.
Okay. When you've been to Martha Jane's house, did you take your truck over there?
Yeah.
See, she told me that she told me this morning, she said, well, I might not should tell you this, that Rusty hasn't been coming in his car. He's going and borrowing somebody else's car to come to my house.
Now, see, that's not true at all. I have driven my truck over there every time.
Well, I knew you had yours over there the other time.
Yeah. Yeah. I pull right up front of the garage, just like always.
I thought, well, surely you would have told me that.
What
if you
difference
hadn't
does
been
that
taking
make?
your vehicle. I don't know, because she said you thought that you had been tailed over there, that you had a GPS on your truck, so that was why you weren't bringing your vehicle over there.
No, that's not true at all.
Okay.
No. You know when I've been there, and
Well, I do.
yeah, so there was nothing good about me going and checking on Martha.
Well, were they in the same vehicle that they were in the other day?
They all look alike. Yeah, it's one of them dark gray, blacked out,
Right.
Dark
Well, the other day when they came, last Tuesday when they came, did they go all the way back to Chattanooga and then turn around and come back to Tullahoma?
I don't know.
See, Martha Jane told me, she said, well, they got all the way back to Chattanooga, that you had told her that they went all the way back to Chattanooga, thought of another question, and then turned around and came back and asked you that other question.
I don't remember whether that's right or not. I really don't. That could have been. I don't remember.
I didn't think that there was enough time that had elapsed for them to drive all the way to Chattanooga and back.
Yeah, me neither.
Manny, I'm interested to see what he's telling Amanda. But of course, Manny is going, because I told him, he said, "Are your two idiot sons still talking to him?" And I said, "I don't know, Manny." He said, "You know that they've got Scott's phone bugged?" And I said, "I do." And I said, "And we've tried to tell him that." And he said, "I'm not going to say that." He said, "But I think that they think that Rusty probably knows something and that they can scare him into telling you." And I said, "But Rusty doesn't know anything. He wasn't there. There's nothing to tell."
No, they verified that. I mean, they verified that I wasn't there. The only thing they beat up on me on is those 3 phone calls.
Right. Right. He said, "All they're trying to do is scare you all." I said, "No shit. Well, they're doing a good job of it."
The whole thing was, did you tell her anything? Did she tell you anything? That basically is it in a nutshell. That,
Right.
that night, those 3
It's
phone
what
calls.
that they just repeatedly ask you today.
Yep.
Well, he asked me, he said, "What were the questions that they asked him?" And I said, "Oh, no, I don't know." I said that was basically our conversation was, hey, they had come and they had, And he said, "Did they leave a copy of that with Bobby?"
That I don't
I
know.
said, "Well, that I don't know either."
Mm-hmm.
So that was what he said. They're trying to scare him. So I don't know what all he told Bobby, about you not talking to him anymore or anything like that. He said, because the thing of it is he said, "How long has he talked to him at each time?" I said, "Oh gosh, I don't know." He said they've got somebody who's talking to him, and he's the only one that's talking. That's why that they're coming back and talking to him. He said, because not any of us are talking to him.
Well, like I told him, I don't have nothing to hide.
Right.
I wasn't there. I didn't have nothing to do with it. I don't know what happened. I talked to her that night. Yes, she called me 3 times. I talked to her that night. We just talked. It was just normal shit. How did she have all that going on, doing all that, and all y'all are talking about is the horses and that kind of shit. I'm fucking scared.
Because there was nothing
now.
going on. Yeah. Because there was nothing going on.
I didn't tell her nothing. She didn't tell me nothing.
Yeah. Because there was nothing going on.
My fucking eyeballs are running that plumb out on the stem, baby.
I know it. I know. I know you were scared to death, and so am I.
Like I told Bobby. But Bobby, I didn't do anything, so why? Baby, are you sure the house is clean?
Baby, there's nothing in the house. I'm telling you, there's nothing in that house. Manny took his investigator through that. We went through that entire house. There's nothing in that house. Nothing. I can assure you, there's nothing in that house. And here's the thing of it is, there was no gun. There was no gun.
What makes you so sure that the cops didn't find anything?
Because there was no gun there.
Well, I don't mean just mean gun. I mean anything, everything. I mean the whole, blood, whatever.
Because there was none. The two pictures that he says that they have, which they had them marked on the wall. I mean, you could see where that they sprayed everything. Technically, there was 3 pictures. There was one right inside my front door, because they had tape up, and you could see where that they had sprayed the wall. And it was like little sticky notes with like little numbers on it. And the marks are still there on the wall. I mean, they're very blatant. You could tell it's where somebody, like a dog, has come through and shook. I mean, you know, they're tiny. I mean, we're talking the size of a lead in a pencil. You know, that unless you don't see them on the wall, and if it hadn't been for the tape on the wall, I mean, you know, the pinpointed, you know, off, and you could see the stuff that they sprayed on the wall, you know, to illuminate, quote, blood. Manny's guy came in. There's nothing there. They sprayed right up inside the basement door that comes up into my dining room. They sprayed that table. They sprayed the floor. They sprayed the door. They sprayed that. There's a piece that comes out. It's like a built-in cabinet and stuff there. They sprayed all that. They sprayed the floor. There was nothing on there. Nothing. Then they sprayed downstairs in the basement. There's a wall that separates, that kind of goes down there, that where you go around and go down the hall to the bedroom and the bathroom and all that kind of stuff. And then there's it's like where the stairwell goes down. They sprayed that entire wall. They sprayed the bar top, and they sprayed the floor all down there. There's nothing on it, nothing illuminated. But that's what they're talking about. That's the 3 places that they're talking about. And there was nothing on it, because we were in there on Sunday. There was nothing there.
Was
I mean,
there
it's like they
anything
told
in
me.
the 3 phone conversations about any of that? You and I,
What 3 phones?
that night that they're talking about, that July the 3rd, that we talked 3 times,
Yeah.
which to them was so out of the ordinary.
No.
What did we talk about?
We talked about fucking.
Which is our normal conversation.
Which is our normal conversation.
And
The
I'm ready to
grandkids
get back
and
to it.
Yeah. And Ella and Addie were coming, and, you know, I was going to Lake Lanier the next day, and, you know, you were going up to the lake with Andrea. That's all we talked about.
And that's what I said.
That's all we talked about.
Where are you?
But I honestly, in my gut feeling, I think that you are the only one that they've been able to, quote, talk to. They're not talking to anybody else, as far as I know. I mean, they could be talking to Chris and Scott every damn day, for all I know. But that's what I'm thinking, is that you are the only one that they're talking to, and they're trying to scare you into saying, hey, she did it. I mean, that's what Manny said. Do you trust him? I said, I trust him with my life. He said, then okay. He said, then...
Baby, do you know who did it? Who killed
No,
him?
I do not. No,
Somebody killed him.
no.
Who could have done it?
I don't know. I mean, Chad said today, he said, Melody, Amanda and I on our way to go get pizza and coming home from getting pizza last night. He said, you know, we did it as outside person looking in, you know. He said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Scott did it. He said that there's too many peculiarities when it comes to Scott. There's too many. But Manny's right. You're the only one that's talking to him still. So I don't know whether he told Bobby not for you all not to talk to them anymore.
Hell, I haven't talked back to Bobby yet.
I had wondered
Maybe,
if
do you think if Scott did it, that would you have not heard it? Known it? I mean,
Okay, let me tell you this, and you tell me whether this is correct or not. Back some time ago, we had a goat that had to be put down. She had given birth. I had worked and worked and worked with her, and I finally got the little baby delivered, and of course it was stillborn. Well, she never really quit bleeding and, whatever. And she was, and Scott put her down. And he told me he was going to put her down. And I said, oh, let me leave. Before you do that. I don't want to be here when you do that. Well, later on, he came over there and he said, well, I'm fixing to do away with that goat. And I said, you didn't put her down. He said, I walked up and put the gun right up to her. He said, and that way there is no noise. True or not true?
I have no idea. I have never done that. So I don't know.
Well, we're not going to Google it.
No. No, I have never done that.
So that's what makes me wonder. Of course, now, on the flip side to that, there was enough fireworks and stuff going off that night into, well after midnight. And probably they were still going off at 1 o'clock in the morning. People shooting fireworks and stuff. Now, if I'm upstairs in, like, my, the upstairs bathroom, and stuff, you can't hear anything up there.
Well, do you know where you were when you talked to me?
Upstairs.
I was in bed. I know where I was at.
Right. No, because I had taken the sheets off of Ella and Addie's, the big bed up there, because when Emily and Amanda and them, when Emily and Chris and Olivia had been there, I had slept upstairs, me and the dogs had. So, and I had just made that bed back. And I had gone up there and had stripped off the sheets and had put clean sheets. I was putting clean sheets and stuff on the bed up there. Of course, I was nasty from being outside, all day working and stuff. I had, took a bath up there. I vacuumed upstairs. All that kind of stuff. Of course, Manny still believes that there is no gunshot. He thinks that that's all coming from the fact that Scott told him there was a missing gun. Which Manny wanted to know. He said, have they asked in any of this time to see any of your guns?
No. They just asked if I knew that all of my guns were in place, and I said, yes, they are. And they are. I've checked every one of them.
Right. He said if they had thought that there was a gunshot, he said they would be taking his guns and at least looking at them. I said, well, they're doing a good job of scaring the shit out of us.
I think that's the truth. I can't even fucking breathe.
Well, I don't think I breathed from the time that you
Good day to
called and
have
said
your
you were
heart
going
checked,
down.
isn't it?
Seriously. Hell, I think we're having ours checked on how did they end it? I'm asking all these questions so when I talk to Manny again that I can tell him what did they, Did they just get up and walk out? What did they do?
They said they would see me soon.
How were they dressed today?
polo shirts.
Okay. Were they the Cherokee County ones?
Yeah, it's the same two guys.
Okay. Well, I didn't know whether they would have on just, you know.
No, last time
What's
they
the
had
Cherokee County
they
one?
had on suits. These were polo.
Right.
Oh yeah, they had like an embroidered badge, I guess, on their polo
Right.
shirts.
Right. But like they said, Melody, that's not how they do things. I said, Manny, I'm not used to doing this. She said, you need to calm down. I said, oh, there is no calm in this, Manny. I said, but he said, before when they went up there, did they tell him that they were coming? And I said, yeah, because he had it set up to meet at the lawyer's office. He said, and this time they just showed up out of the blue, and I said, it's my understanding that they did. He said, but they went to his lawyer's office first. I said, yeah. Is that correct?
To me, all this just doesn't, it doesn't seem, I understand a scare tactic, but it doesn't seem right for them to lie about all of this stuff. I mean, why would they have, say they put the stuff on the wall and it had been cleaned up and there was blood there, and say that, there was here's a picture of a rib with a bullet in it, that he'd been shot. I mean, I don't, again, I don't understand.
Right. Well, he said that, well, of course, now, LeBron, of course, he used to be a cop, and of course, now he's been, he's an investigator, for whatever. And he said, first of all, Melody, he said, I can tell you that, according to the pictures, that, you're not going to have all other bones gone and a rib there with a gunshot wound in it. It ain't going to happen. He said, it's not going to happen. He said, I could have understood if it was he said, first of all, that it's not going to be in the rib. He said, it's not going to happen. And he said, I could understand if it was in a hip or if it was in like a big, he said, the Melody, there was nothing left of there was nothing left. I mean, could you see it when you looked at it? Could you see a rib bone with a slug in it?
I could see a bone with it. I couldn't tell. It was. Let me think about the picture. So a rib bone would have been the curved bone. So yes, that's what it looked like.
See, even I can tell you from when being down there at that burn pile, there was nothing like that left.
I don't
He
know.
said,
I
now
wasn't
you would
there.
have been right. No, you weren't there. Now, the thing about that is the fact, like he said, Melody, you don't even. They're taking him pictures and showing. He said they could have taken a picture of anything and to be showing him. I mean,
Right.
And he said, there's certain. He said, I've been doing this way too long. He said, I know what that they're doing. He said, like they said, if they were going to arrest him, they're not going to show up and tell him they're going to. They would have done it. They would have already had all that in place. They would have already had. I mean, But that was what he said. He said, why does he have a lawyer? And I said, well, you know, small town, you know. He said, I understand, you know.
Well, I guess my only thought is, what if that is what they have? What if they do have that? What does that mean for us? I mean,
Right.
we, you know,
Well, that's the
I
thing
don't
of it is I understand. I know you're scared shitless, and so am I, darling. So am I. But I know that there's nothing there. That's the one thing in the world that I'm positive about. Which, I mean, you know, when you stop and you breathe and you think about it,
I can't.
I know. But one thing about it is that I trust Manny in the fact that I hope he knows what he's talking about. I mean, I really and truly think that I think he does.
So, who found the remains? That's what they call them. Who found the remains?
Scott did.
And did you get in the burn pile?
No,
Did anybody get in the
I
burn
didn't.
pile?
Only Scott.
Did he poke around in it?
He did.
Did he handle stuff?
Yes, he did.
And they didn't crawl his ass for that?
Find that weird? Crawl his ass for that? They did not. Or no, I don't think that they did. I don't know it if they did. But even the paramedics that arrived at first on the...
I mean, when he found it, you did go to the burn pile, so you saw there wasn't nothing or not much or what? I mean, was
Me and Amanda... Right. Me and Amanda and Chris and Scott and Cameron and Addison were all around that burn pile. Every one of us.
Okay.
And, I mean, we'd all been standing there. I mean, even me and Amanda and Scott had been picking up wood and chunking it back into the burn pile. I mean, you know, because it was all still smoldering. You know, throwing it back into the burn pile. And then Scott goes over, starts digging through there, picks up what, and I know that this is graphic and whatever, but you need to know it. He picked up what he said was Gary's face. Picked it up, looked at it, and put it back down in there. And dug around to the rest of the pieces and stuff. Picked it up, turned it over, took a stick, dug around in the burn pile, everything. And then starts freaking out. That's what it was.
Wow.
Yeah. So see, you've got, okay, let me tell you this. Let me walk you through what all happened. When Amanda got there that morning, I walked out and sat down on the front porch, and we were discussing what we're going to do that day, whether we're going to go get something to eat there, what we're going to do. She wanted to go up to the outlets because Cameron was wanting a new backpack and going up there to do that. And Addison said, yeah, that was what she wanted to do, you know, And then they said, well, they wanted to go right on the RTV. And they said something about Big Daddy and couldn't find him, that they had looked for him that morning. Well, then about that time, Scott comes walking up on the sidewalk to the front porch and said, and Amanda's sitting on the steps, and I don't know, I was in one of the rocking chairs. And Scott comes up, and I said, have you seen your daddy? And he said, no. And I said, so he's not over at the barn? And he said, no. And I said, well, the girls were looking for him, and we can't find him. His immediate response was, there's a gun missing. And he jumps up and runs through goes in the house. And I didn't realize I was like, what? What are you, what gun? What, and Amanda's like going, what's he doing? What's he even talking about? Still there was no panic with any of us except for Scott. So Scott heads down to the basement. And then Scott comes back out and gets in his truck and heads back over to the barn. Well, me and Amanda go in the house, and we looked through the house and walked out, and Scott comes back at some point. I don't know who got on the RTV, but anyway, Amanda and I walked, through the house and whatever, and then out through the basement door, and we walked out to the edge of the woods and down by the pond, and just, still, nobody's in a panic, nobody's in a whatever. She called his cell phone. It immediately went to voicemail. She sent him an email message on both of his emails, on his personal email and on his company email. And she said that, and said, hey, look, we're looking for you, whatever. Still, nobody's in a panic. Nobody's in, whatever, except for Scott. Well, then Chris comes up, and I'm going to get my two girls before the shit, he said, I'm going to get my daughter and leave here before the shit hits the fan. What shit's going to hit the fan, Scott, Chris? Well, I'm getting my daughter and I'm getting out of here. So that makes me lead to think that he has talked to Scott. So he's already on his way to get Addison and get out of there. I said, I didn't think your dad, and I remember asking her, I didn't think your daddy was coming to get you until, this afternoon. He said, I don't know. He said, he's being Chris. He's just flipping out about stuff. So then Scott comes over on the RTV, and Amanda she said, I'm going to go back. She said, I'm going over to the barn and look to see what, so she supposed, I don't know how she got there. I don't know whether she went across the dam or whether she walked the driveway. Don't know. But anyway, I hopped on the RTV with Scott. We rode back over to the shed over there, and he pointed out that the tractor was not in its proper spot. The tractor was not under the shed. It was back behind the shed over by the compost pile. Well, the tractor's not in the right spot. Well, I didn't put the tractor there, Scott. So from there, then we rode up the driveway onto the road of the property so that you can look down on the property from up there. We rode up there and turned around and came back. And then, I'm not trying to think how that we did, but anyway, all of it, me and Amanda and Scott were over there at that burn pile when he started pilfering through it. And Amanda started walking off back to the house. And that's when he said, when he told me, that's human remains in that burn pile. I've seen him 100 times. And I'm calling 911. But he's walking away from me as he's saying that. And me going, what are you saying? Well, Amanda heard it more than I did because he was walking toward Amanda. Well, he called 911. He would not let any of us hear him when he called 911. And he went and met them at the front of the driveway, down by the driveway and the road, at the entrance to the property, and stopped them and talked to them for what seemed like an eternity. And then he rode in the paramedics truck up to there. Well, they get out, and they had, of course, they said it was protocol. They got out with a defibrillator and a backboard and another bag, and, that kind of stuff. And he told me and Amanda, you two do not go down there. I said, you're not going to stop me from going anywhere on my property. So me and the paramedics and Scott walked back to the burn pile. And once again, he reached down and picked it up and showed it to him. And then laid it back down. So then they radioed in something, and about that time the sheriff showed up. Of course, they're only 3 miles from my house, so it didn't take long to get there. They radioed back, somebody, and the sheriff got there. And from that, then I'm the one who actually talked to Detective Hayes first, and he kind of got, from me, okay, what shook down today? What was the thing of today? And I told him just what that I told you. He wanted to know about Gary's medications, where they were, anything that I had on his medical history. I went in there and got that. It was in Gary's office. In a file folder, I went and got him what I had, and he did not take it. I have since found it, and they did not take that. It was still there. They did take his medication, and they took his wallet, and they took his cell phone. And then the next time that I really talked to any of them was that night when me and Amanda and Chad and Scott went down to the free home, which I guess it's a police station. It's not really a police station. It's like a conference room, and, they got a couple of computers and stuff in there. It's not a real police station. And we went down there, and they asked the same thing what that they had asked me that day. Okay, go through today. Go through yesterday. Go through, this morning. And I told him the exact same thing all over again. And he said, well, you're telling the exact same thing because it's the truth. That's what happened. So then at 1:15, they said, well, what would you say if we told you that there was a gunshot wound to a rib? So I just sat there and just looked at him, and he said, well, who's going to go out there and tell your children? Me or you? And I said, well, I'm not going to go out there and tell them that because I don't know that it's fact. I'm going by what you're telling me. And they had already told, somebody in the midst of all of it had already told me they will know nothing until they take the remains down to GBI headquarters. You will know nothing. So that stuck in my brain that when he was telling me that, I said, look, you're just telling me that, I don't know that for a fact. Oh, so you know that there was, I don't know anything. That's what I told him. I don't know anything. Well, your son says that there's a gun missing. Okay. Nobody seems to know anything about this gun. I said, he is a gun freak. I said, he likes guns. He lives and breathes guns. He, whatever. He said, well,
listen to me. Okay?
Okay.
We need to be on the same page.
Okay.
All right? And so I don't want to be confused. But I remember you telling me he's on the burn pile.
Mm-hmm.
Were you lying about Scott? Scott, you think what? You tell me what happened.
I can tell you that there should not have been as much damage as there was done.
I don't know what that means.
That body should not have been burned up.
So, who burned it up?
I think Scott did.
Okay.
I think Scott did.
like Amanda said, I think that that Scott had the perfect crime, the perfect whatever, the perfect, you know.
Except you saw him there, so did you try to not get Scott in trouble?
No. I'm not covering for Scott. No, and I told them everything that I have just told you, that, you know, because that's what that they started in. You're covering for Scott. I said, look, I don't know anything, you know. I saw Scott come in that night. He said, do you know if he had been there, you know? I don't know, because I said, I don't even know what time it was that Scott came in. I said, because you've got my phone. So I don't know what time it is that I talked to Scott. He said, well, do you know what Scott did from the time he came home until, I said, because he called me about 6:30 the next day and said he was at the house and for me to open up the front door. And I said, I walked out front, and I said, I opened up the front door, and I said, then I went to my truck that was in the garage, got my debit card, and handed it to him.
Right. What I'm saying is that night, the 3rd, that we supposedly talked, you know, so much, and you said he was on the burn pile. Were you just trying to cover for Scott, or what?
No.
No. Okay.
Now, I honestly don't know what Scott did or anything. I don't know. Do I have speculation? Yes, I do.
Okay. So, did you tell me that night, the 3rd, that he was on the burn pile?
I don't remember. I think all that I remember saying to you was that Gary has started the burn pile.
Okay. See, I don't remember. I was trying to put it all together, and that was what I was coming up with, but I don't remember what was said about Gary because I had had some drinks, and I had some Advil PM, and, you know, like I said, we talked normal stuff, and I listened, and
right,
just kind of in and out.
Did you ever tell them that you had had drinks and Advil PM? Okay. Okay. Well, I guess the thing of it is, like Manny said, don't give them any more information than, you know. Of course, they're not going to be talking to me. So that's the thing of it is, as Manny said, he's the only one that's talking to him. Well, we think that he's the only one that's talking to him because not any of, you know, us are supposed to be, you know, talking to him. So, you know, he said that's why that they're, you know. Are you still sitting at Planet Fitness?
I am.
Have you driven back through town to, well, I would think if they'd shown back up that Bobby would have called you. Were they sitting in his office when you got there?
Yes. I don't know what to say or not to say, you know, if we both get locked up.
You don't say anything. You say nothing. I mean, that's what Manny kept saying. Has he made a statement to them? I said, Bobby, I don't know. I honestly don't. I mean, Manny, I said, I honestly don't know what, you know. Of course, I guess his had
Ask questions, and like I told him, I haven't done anything. I wasn't down there.
right. Right. And like he said, Melody, we've been in your house. There is no blood. Nothing illuminated. I've seen pictures. Nothing is illuminated. They have nothing. They're telling you, he said, it is, I mean, you know, I said, yeah, I can, I think I can preach this all day long, but, you know, at the end of the day, we're still scared shitless. He said, somehow or the other, he said, do you remember, they started with you that first night, or not for the first night, but on that Friday, that there was a big hole in your wall. He said, Melody, what was the hole? I said, it was a nail.
Did you clean it up good? Did you clean up good? Did you clean up?
There was nothing to clean up.
Okay.
There was nothing to clean up. The big hole that they're talking about that was in the wall was a nail hole. All this stuff that they say that is all over the floor. They even said that there was a, quote, where a bullet had hit my floor in my basement. That there was a big, you know, well, they had it taped. They did. Of course, that floor in the basement is hand scraped and hand whatever. It looks like old barnwood. It's made into the floor. We found 50 of the pieces in that floor that had the exact same thing, you know. So there was no, you know, I mean, his investigator took pictures of everything that they took pictures of. He said, we have our pictures, they have their pictures. We have them to compare, you know. He said, Melody, they're lying. He said, this is what they do. He said, you were there with us. You walked through that house just like we did. He said, you saw it. I said, I know. I said, but it's also easy for them, you know, for me to get a phone call. And I said, and he doesn't know because he's never been there. It's easy for them to show up with pictures.
Because, you know, again, what I said.
Right. And he said they could also be trying to get him to say, no, that's not her house. He said, we don't know that the pictures that they showed him were of your house, do we? I said, well, no. I said, no, we don't. He said, okay.
Yeah, they made a big deal about that luminous stuff.
Right. Right. But it was still there when Manny.
What if that made it where it didn't glow anymore after they put that on it? I don't know. You know.
Well, it's all, you know, he said, Melody, it would have still been glowing when we came through that house. And he said it wasn't. I said there were 2 places on the carpet going up the steps that they had said something about. And he said if they had thought that it was anything, they would have cut that carpet out. But they didn't. He said, have you done it? I said, no, it's still right there, you know. He said, we did a test on it. He said, LeBron said it was wine that had been spilled. He said, Melody, if they had thought you had cleaned up everything, he said, they would have taken mops and towels and all that kind of stuff. He said, they didn't do it. They're all still there. He said, you had towels in your washing machine, remember? He said, they're all still there. He said, Melody, you had shoes sitting by your front door. They're still there. And it's true. I'm wondering if did they leave any of them with your attorney? Leave any kind of documentation?
I don't know.
Call him back and ask him if they left anything.
He said he would call me. He would try to call me sometime tonight.
Okay.
So, all right. I haven't eaten or drank or anything.
Me either.
Or peed or pooped or nothing.
Okay, let me give you Amanda's cell phone number, okay?
Okay.
Because Amanda's going to be here. Well, she gets off at 7, and she'll be here, and I will be with her. So I'm going to put
Okay.
this phone up. But
Okay.
if anything happens, then that way you're not calling my other one. But you can always get me on her cell phone number, okay?
Okay.
I've put it all out on the line with her. I've told her, you know.
Okay.
Her number is 678.
Okay.
5.
Get to
I don't know where it is.
just skip it a couple of seconds. I can
Jump
here,
forward.
I can see if that.
Oh, well, maybe not. I'll just jump. There we go. Oh.
Let me give you tab number 2.
Anything happens, I will do that. All right.
Okay. See if you can eat you something.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and right now take you either a Benadryl or take you 1 Advil PM.
Yeah.
That way it will kind of take you down, help make you breathe a little bit better.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'm gonna get with Amanda and see if she talked to Manny, okay?
Okay.
And see what he told her. And I will let you know as soon as I talk to her.
Okay.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you.
Okay.
Do that for me, okay?
I will. I promise.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. My hand on your waist.
Hand on your waist, darling.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Bye.